Spider-Man Brand New Day just broke every trailer record in existence with over 700 million views in one day. More than GTA 6, more than Endgame, more than anything ever. And within hours of that trailer dropping, the entire internet came to the exact same conclusion. Peter Parker is turning into Man-Spider. Every comment section, every Reddit thread, every single breakdown video out there is pointing at the same thing. And honestly, they're completely right. The signs are so obvious that Marvel is barely even trying to hide it at this point, but most people stop at, yeah, he's probably mutating, and don't actually dig into how deep this goes, especially when it comes to one specific character who's going to play a way bigger role in this than anyone expects: Frank Castle, the Punisher. And today I want to break down exactly why everyone's Man-Spider theory is spot on, and why the Punisher is most likely the person who's going to pull Peter Parker back from the edge. So for those who somehow missed the wave of theories, here's what everyone picked up on immediately. Man-Spider is one of the most iconic and genuinely disturbing storylines in Spider-Man history. It originally popped up in Marvel Fanfare number 2 back in 1982, but the version that traumatized an entire generation was the 90s Spider-Man, the animated series. In that show, Dr. Connors tells Peter that his mutation from the spider bite never actually stopped. His DNA just kept evolving, and over multiple episodes, Peter starts developing extra arms, shooting acid from his mouth, producing webs from every limb until he fully transforms into Man-Spider, a massive, multi-limbed monster with fangs, zero control over his body, and barely any memory of who Peter Parker even is. His consciousness trapped inside this thing, while his humanity slowly fades away. For a kid's show, that was absolutely terrifying. And the reason every Spider-Man fan on the planet immediately thought of this after the Brand New Day trailer, because the parallels are impossible to ignore. Peter is developing organic webbing. Throughout the entire MCU, Tom Holland's Spider-Man always used mechanical web shooters, built them himself, refilled them, the whole deal. In the Brand New Day trailer, his body is suddenly producing webs on its own, and the movie doesn't frame this as some cool new power-up. Peter is freaked out. His body is doing things he can't control. Then there's the cocoon scene that everyone lost their minds over. Peter wakes up wrapped in a cocoon of his own webbing stuck to the outside of his apartment window. His body produced all of that while he was unconscious, dragged him outside, and cocooned him to the building like an actual spider going through metamorphosis. That's not a power upgrade. That's his body doing things without his permission while he's asleep. That's terrifying. His eyes turn black in one shot, and Bruce Banner, now a professor at Empire State University, tells Peter straight up that if his DNA is mutating, it would be enormously dangerous. When Bruce Banner, the guy who literally turns into a green rage monster, tells you your mutation is dangerous, you should probably panic. And then Keith David's voiceover talks about spiders having 3 life cycles, and that between cycles, a spider becomes vulnerable. 3 cycles. First was the spider bite. Second is this mutation. Third is rebirth. That mirrors the other storyline from the comics where Peter dies and comes back with enhanced feral spider powers. So yeah, the internet figured this out in about 5 minutes flat, and they're not wrong. But here's where most people's analysis stops. They see the mutation, they say Man-Spider, and they move on. What almost nobody is talking about is why the Punisher is in this movie, and how his role connects directly to this storyline, because in the 90s animated series, when Peter fully transforms into Man-Spider, 2 characters go after him, Kraven the Hunter and the Punisher, and Frank Castle didn't show up to rescue anyone, he showed up to put the creature down. The Punisher saw Man-Spider as a threat that needed to be eliminated, not a hero that needed saving. He hunted this thing through New York, fully intending to kill it, but over the course of that storyline, Frank realizes this monster is actually Spider-Man, and instead of pulling the trigger, he helps subdue Peter long enough for scientists to develop a cure. The Punisher went from wanting to execute Man-Spider to being the reason Peter Parker survived. And now look at Spider-Man Brand New Day. Jon Bernthal as Frank Castle, Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner, the scientist who's going to develop the cure. Marvel is recreating the exact setup from the animated series. They just swapped Dr. Connors for Banner, which makes even more sense because Banner actually understands what it's like to lose control of your own body. The trailer makes it clear that Peter and Frank already have history. When Spider-Man crashes through the Punisher's battle van, he calls him Frank, first name, and Castle gives him that eye roll like he's heard Peter's moral lectures 100 times. 4 years have passed since No Way Home. Peter's been doing street-level crime fighting alone. Frank has been doing his thing through Daredevil Born Again. They've crossed paths over and over and built this grudging respect despite being polar opposites when it comes to justice. And according to plot details that leaked months ago and now match the trailer almost perfectly, there's a massive prison sequence where the Hand attacks to free Scorpion. Spider-Man is fighting off dozens of hand ninjas, and this is the moment his powers start seriously malfunctioning, his body failing mid-fight, losing control of himself, and the Punisher fights through the chaos and gets Spider-Man out alive. That's the animated series playing out in live action. The guy who kills without hesitation, dragging the guy who refuses to kill to safety. But it goes beyond just the action. Frank Castle represents what Peter becomes if he doesn't stop. After No Way Home, Peter erased himself from everyone's memory. MJ doesn't know him. Ned doesn't know him. May is dead. Peter has nothing except being Spider-Man. All mission, no life. That's Frank Castle's entire existence. Lost his family, turned into a weapon, abandoned every human connection for the mission. Peter is doing the same thing without realizing it. The trailer shows him watching MJ and Ned at a party from a distance like some depressed ghost, rehearsing conversations he'll never have. And the leaks suggest his emotional state is directly fueling the mutation. The lonelier he gets, the faster the spider side takes over. His body is literally responding to his isolation. The less human he feels, the less human he becomes. That's why Frank telling Spider-Man he's losing it in the trailer hits different when you understand the full picture. Frank recognizes the warning signs because he lived them. He knows what happens when you stop being a person and become nothing but the job. Frank Castle became the Punisher that way. Peter Parker is becoming Man-Spider that way. The leaks say Peter eventually fully transforms. 4 extra arms, multiple eyes, the whole nightmare from the animated series, and Sadie Sink's character, most likely Jean Grey, telepathically enters his mind and anchors him, helps him understand that only being Spider-Man and suppressing Peter Parker is what's feeding the mutation. He has to accept both halves. Same lesson Banner learned with the Hulk. Find the balance or the monster wins. Banner finishes the serum, Peter stabilizes, and he comes out changed. Organic webbing stays, enhanced abilities, and he finally understands he can't do it alone, which is exactly the setup for Avengers Doomsday, because a Spider-Man who survived a full biological meltdown is exactly the kind of Spider-Man who can stand next to Doctor Doom without getting vaporized in the first 5 minutes. Oh, and the post-credits apparently has Tombstone getting the symbiote left behind after No Way Home. Teased for Scorpion. McGargan as Venom is straight from the comics, and that's a nightmare for whatever comes next. Everyone saw the mutation coming, everyone called Man-Spider within hours, and they're right. But the part nobody's connecting yet is how perfectly Marvel set up the Punisher to be the one who saves Peter Parker from himself, not with a serum, not with telepathy, but by being the living warning of what happens when you let the mission eat you alive. Spider-Man brand. New Day is about to give us body horror, street-level crime, and the most emotionally heavy Spider-Man story the MCU has ever attempted. And if Frank Castle has to carry this kid out of a prison full of ninjas while his body is falling apart just so Banner can finish a cure that might not even work, then this might be the best Spider-Man movie we've ever gotten. Drop a comment if you agree with the Man-Spider theory or if you think Marvel is bluffing. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you when the next trailer drops.